Hey everybody, it's Casual Boobs coming at you with another video, and today we're going to cover the Tier 7 German turretless tank destroyer, the Sturer Emil. What I guess both Tier 7 German tank destroyers have no turret, but this one is on the way to the Guerilla 15 by way of the Borsig and the Waffentrager 4, and yeah, I guess we're gonna cover this one real quick, just because somebody had asked a question of how to play the tank and what do you do with it, and the answer is you set your expectations low. So we'll just go over the stats real quick. Basically, the tank is not very good. There's not a lot of good things to say about it, and so we'll go over those quickly. I guess the one thing that is nice about the thing is the fact that the gun hits like an absolute truck. Like hitting for 490 damage at Tier 7 is that's a big, you feel that, you notice when you've been smacked by a Sturer Emil. Also, the final accuracy is okay, but we'll get into more of that later. This is really hard to use because of other reasons that we'll get into. Let me see. Good things. Gun depression of 15. Minus 15 is incredible. It's actually the best in the game, with the exception of now the Kunzi-Panzer has been added to the game. So you can go, you can swap into whatever it is, sniper mode on the Kunzi-Panzer, and it uses the hydropneumatic suspension to get you 15 degrees of gun depression. Or you can play your Sturer Emil or Dicker Max, and those two tanks are tied for best gun depression in the game. 15 is hard to like. It's hard to really grasp. Like, the thing is just ridiculous. And so it's I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, this allows you to work hills in a way that you wouldn't even imagine, because you can't do it in any other thing. And that's basically, like, that's it. Those are the good things about the tank, and that's it. The crew layout doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't match any of the higher tier stuff. It doesn't have any armor. Like, bad things. Okay, well, actually, there's no armor on the thing, and there's no turret. So and there's not really a whole lot of camo, right? This is the tank shooting itself. It's got this little thing here. So like the mantlets, you can't pen this thing with HE reliably because there's this mantlet here. So mostly it doesn't have armor though. The gun arc is very narrow, -5 to one side and 7 to one side to the other side. So what that means is you're going to be turning the hull quite a bit, and that means that the accuracy feels a lot worse than it otherwise would, because these stats are not very good. And although the final accuracy is okay, because you're moving the turret around or moving the tank around quite a bit, it feels like it's constantly aiming. So you're never going to get, or it's going to be a lot more difficult to get games where you can actually let the gun lay in and then the tank appears in front of you and then you can shoot it with your accuracy. I mean, it does happen, I suppose. But yes, not very long ago, I think Wargaming buffed the, what was it, the power to weight, I think? The horsepower of the engine. So, believe it or not, 8.5 power to weight of horsepower per ton is better than it used to be. It used to be worse somehow. Like, let me just. Am I crazy? I feel like I could have sworn there was at some point here where they buffed the engine, or maybe they buffed the traverse, or something happened. But anyways, it's still not very fast. Top speed at 20 or 25, reverse speed at 12. Like, it is very slow. It's got no armor. It's got no turret. It's got not very much camo. There's really not a lot of good things to say about the thing, except again that it hits like a truck. I will also say that the ammo capacity is 15 shells. So that means that if you hit every single shell for maximum damage, and for an average roll, like let's say you don't secure a kill for somebody who's less than 490 average damage, the maximum damage you can do is 7,350. So like, you are gimped in this tank super hard. You also do not get a premium round. You get an AP round that has 230 millimeters of pen, which is fine for tier 7, but you don't get a premium round. You just get the HE round, which I don't even carry any of those, or I didn't when I played through this thing, because you only have 15 rounds. Like, if you have a really good game, you will use all of those. That means you can't afford to be blind firing things. Yeah. So the tank is very bad. And how do you play the thing? You lower your expectations and plan ahead. And so because of that, it's very non-newbie friendly. It requires that you know a lot about various maps, various positions. You can read the team compositions, predict what's going to happen before it happens because you can't get anywhere fast. So it's very hard to play. Definitely not recommended for newbies. Why does anyone play this? Well, because it leads to the Rhm Borsig, which is fantastic. One of my favorite tier 8 tanks, and then also the Waffentrager 4, which is also fantastic, and then the Grill 15, which also exists. Anyways, so equipment. We'll just equipment really quick. I think a turbo is mandatory because anything you can do to make this thing even just slightly faster, like the top speed, is going to just be awful. You want a rammer so you can maximize this big stupid gun you have, and then I use the rotation mechanism personally, but you know, just trying to get the thing to behave as well as possible. But I could be convinced of this that there are other ways to do this, or there are other things. Maybe you use a gun lane drive. I don't know. This is debatable, the third slot, but I think a rammer and a excuse me, a turbo are the two things that I would not compromise on. It does have an open top, which means Artie just gets to hose you if they feel like it. So no vents for you, because we can't have this thing even remotely like approaching a good tank. Armor, there is none. And that's it. And so yeah, without further ado, we'll get into the game, and I'll show you just how like a good game can happen in this tank. And spoiler alert, basically what happens is you have to be very lucky and get in a position where tanks just kind of wander in front of your gun, because if you have to drive anywhere, you're not going to get there fast, and it's probably not going to work. So that's really, it's not really up to you. It's about making the best of a bad situation every time you log into the game with a Sturer Emil. So without further ado, we'll get into the game. Okay. Alright, so we're going to be following me playing on my alt account non-consensual boots, playing in the Sturer Emil on Redshire, and it's a tier 8 game, tier 7s and tier 8s in the game, and yeah, this is the first game that I didn't have, I still carry the 1 HE around and not running food or anything like that. This is just, you know, this is the alt account, which doesn't have a whole lot of stuff. And so I'm trying to, there is a 1357 or 1375 in the game. You have to think about, in order to play Sturer Emil games, well, I suppose you have to read the team and predict what you think will happen. And I anticipated that the 1375 would get to the common kind of spotting area. And so I'm trying to approach this area, this building that's the blue house there, where there's some bushes, trying to approach that while keeping the spotting, keeping hard cover between me and where I think the enemy light tank is. And so it seems here we got here safely. And now I'm just setting up, because if you're, yeah, so that's like, it's very common for heavy tanks to somehow bounce the side of, yeah, that's pretty painful. But I think there's an IS-3A rental during this particular weekend when this game was played. So I'm just waiting to punish the heavies that are crossing here, because if you want to play in the town, this is where you have to go to get into the town. And so generally speaking, it's very risky, but I figured, okay, well, like in a tier 10 game, you would spot here, but you probably wouldn't want to be shooting because you'd be spotted in turn, and then you'd have a bad time. But I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to risk it for the biscuit. And every time somebody crosses here, they pay the tax. And so, you know, and you notice I didn't have very good view range because the crew's not very good, so I didn't even spot that IS-2M when he crossed. But, and also keep an eye on the minimap. You see the Progetto is trying to shoot it, trying to get on the inside, so we can turn, aim forever. And I had to send it, I felt like, and I probably didn't aim that very well, but we whiffed it. So, anyways, I told them that that Progetto is now their problem, and there's nothing much you can do about it because you can't move. The tank is just not mobile. You know, you have to be zen and realize what is something you can take care of and what is something that you can't take care of. So, see, the enemy Sturer Emil is on the hill, and you know, it's a pretty conventional spot to be in, but it's also kind of risky, and that's why, because he's been spotted and he just got evaporated, or I took, you know, most of his hit points with one shot. So, and the 1375 is exactly where I expected him to be. So you notice I'm keeping the hard cover of this blue building between me and where those tank destroyers are. So I figured they would be there. I still wanted to be here, but I didn't want to take the chance of getting shot, especially after I was spotted. So this is a pretty common bush to be in. And if you're in the enemy team, I would highly recommend that, you know, if you're on the other side, you shoot this bush, even if nobody's there specifically, because somebody might be there even if they're not spotted. And you're seeing here, like, I'm putting rounds into tier 7s and 8s, and it's a big chunk. Like, for a tier 7 tank destroyer, hitting for 480 and, you know, 526, it's just ridiculous. but again, you know, I have missed a couple of shots, but I'm at 8 rounds. I have 8 rounds plus 1 HE round left, and that's it. And so you really have to, oh god, it hits so hard. You really have to just, man, I think I think Wargaming is trying to balance the fact that the tank has the flexibility of 15 degrees of gun depression and a big, stupid, meaty gun by making it bad in so many other ways so it's not overpowered. But like, I think they could probably afford to give this a little love. Even just give me some ammo, right? Like, oh god, Black Prince. This is why we don't play the Black Prince. But yeah, so basically this is the game that we've been given so far, is people just keep wandering in front of our gun, and it seems kind of silly. And now we're gonna use this use the hardcover a little bit better, make sure that light tank can't put any more rounds into us. And it is, especially if your team doesn't own the middle part where the swamp is, it's very easy to get pinched, right? Where they have very, you know, easy angles of fire from a few different directions. And I did not deserve to hit that shot, but here we are. And so it's the place where I am is a very risky position, because especially if they, I mean, right now we seem to have control over the map, but if we didn't, this would not be a good place to be. It's because it's far enough up that you can spot, but you're also rather exposed. So just bear that in mind, is not every position is where you want to be all the time. And you gotta aim the gun, and I'm getting very lucky with RNG here, but you're just noticing, like, the gun lays in kind of slow. Like, it does hit like a truck, but it's just, it's not all good news here. And I've only got 3 rounds left. So you can see how if this team wasn't very good, and I would have had to have carried some more, like, you know, done more to carry the win, I probably wouldn't have been able to do so, because I've only had 3 rounds left. And as soon as I had to, like, leave my little nest, you know, we're not moving quick. I think of the entire game, I think I moved 5 squares. So, you know, it just goes to show you the tank can be played well, but it's really not up to you. It's up to the enemy team to mess it up. So, all right, so at the end of the game, we ended up with, what is that, 3,900 damage and 262 base, 262 assisted damage somehow, I think from the spotting of the Black Prince or something like that. And that is a high caliber somehow, and an ace tanker. And, you know, that gave us 1,191 base XP. We were shooting a lot of tier 8s in this game. And I think we were even spotting a lot of our own damage. And that ended up giving us a profit, even without, I think this one did have a premium account, so we ended up making a profit of, what is that, 54,000 credits. You know, so I guess the answer is, you know, someone said, how do you play the Sturer Emil? I can't seem to make it work. The answer is, get lucky and lower your expectations. Because it's very, the situations where you'll be able to play the thing well are very narrow, and most of the time you won't have very good games, and there's not anything you can really do about that. But if you plan ahead and you know the different places you can be, and bushes to be in, and positions to firing lanes and so on, then you can maximize the opportunities the enemy gives you to have good games, or just wait for IS-3As to be on rental. I guess that's another option. So anyways, that's the game, and thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.